an earlier thunderstorm. The air conditioning blew only faintly, and Cate eyed the rain-slick buildings like a stranger to the city. She'd lived in Philadelphia since law school, but her heart wasn't in the city. She'd grown up in the mountains, in a small town erased from the map. Cate still felt a twinge at the thought, even though she knew she wasn't supposed to care about her hometown anymore. She was pretty sure the official cutoff was 4th grade. Cate's head began to ache. Today she'd presided over opening arguments in her first major trial, a construction contract case with damages of $50 million. Fleets of pricey lawyers from New York had filed special appearances, and the witness lists contained more PhDs than most colleges. It was a bench trial, with no jury to make the decision, but at least it was a civil case. Cate already sentenced 4 men to federal prison, which was 4 too many. The cab was stifling, and Cate lowered the window. A breeze blew in, too sticky to offer any relief, and she unbuttoned the top of her silk blouse. She felt the weight of her pearls like a noose. The night sky was black and starless, and the full moon a spotlight. She leaned back against the seat, but her chignon got in the way, so she loosened it with her fingers. She looked idly out the window. Couples walked together, their arms wrapped around each other, their hips bumping. A handsome man in a white Oxford shirt dashed across the street, his tie flying. The cab turned onto one of the skinny back streets that scored Center City, no more than an alley with rusted blue dumpsters lining the curb. Cate caught a whiff of the rotting smell. "The scenic route, huh? It's faster than south," the driver said, and the cab slowed to a stop sign, waiting for someone to cross the street. Cate eyed a run-down tavern on the corner. Dell and Roy's flickered a failing neon sign, and graffiti blanketed its brick. Its side window was covered with plywood, though an amber glow emanated from yellow plexiglass in the front door, which was the only indication the bar wasn't abandoned. "It's Miller time," Cate thought. The line from an old TV commercial. Her mother used to drink Miller. The champagne of bottled beer. "I'll get out here," she said suddenly, digging in her purse for the fare. "Here." The driver twisted around on his side of the smudged plastic divider. "Lady, this ain't the best block. I thought we were going to Society Hill." "Change of plans." Cate slid a 20 from her wallet and handed it to him. 10 minutes later, she was perched on a wobbly bar stool behind a glass of Miller. Lipstick stained the rim of her glass, a sticky red kiss slashed with lines, like vanity's own fingerprint. It wasn't her color, but she drank anyway. The bar reeked of stale draft and Marlboros, and dusty liquor bottles cluttered its back underneath a cardboard cutout of Donovan McNabb, set askew. The bar area doubled as a hallway to a closed dining room, its darkened doorway marked by an old-fashioned sign that read "Ladies' Entrance." Cate looked away. The bar was half empty, and a man with dark hair hunched over a beer 2 seats from her, smoking a cigarette. He wore a white T-shirt that said C&C Towing, stretching in block letters across a muscular back. 3 men sat beyond him, silently watching the baseball game, the Phillies playing San Francisco, on a TV mounted above the bar. They watched with their heads tilted back, their bald spots an ellipsis. Cate crossed her legs, bare in her brown pumps, and took a sip of warm beer. She hated herself for being here, and at the same time wondered how long it would take. It wasn't that she wanted to get home to sleep. She could function on almost none, from a childhood interrupted by nighttime alarms. She'd be pulled from bed and dressed in a winter coat with an embroidered penguin, worn over a thin nightgown. The coat was turquoise, and the penguin of raised black fuzz, she remembered now, for some reason. She had loved that coat. "Hey," said a voice beside her, and Cate looked over. It was the man in the T-shirt, with his beer and Marlboro. Up close, he had bloodshot blue eyes, heavy stubble, and hair that shone in greasy strands. He smiled drunkenly and asked, "Are you beautiful?" Cate turned to him and smiled. Evidently beautiful. The man chuckled and set his beer on the bar, his cigarette trailing a snake of smoke. "I think I know you from somewhere," he said, putting his hand on Kate's bare knee. "What's your name again?" "Karen," Cate told him, then moved his hand up onto her thigh. Feeling thrilled and miserable, both at once. Chapter 1. 6 months later, Cate sat in her high-backed chair atop the dais, waiting to start the day's session. The courtroom was packed, and she hid her anticipation behind a professional mask, which was turning out to be a job requirement. The jury trial had taken all last week, but today was the only day that counted, like the final 2 minutes in a basketball game. Sixers, Hornets. It was on the bar last night. Wonder who won. Cate shifted behind the slippery wall of stacked pleadings in front of her. She hadn't slept well last night and was relying on her concealer, but was otherwise in full costume. Synthetic black robes, dark blonde hair in a judicial chignon, a swipe of pink gloss on her lips, and neutral makeup on largish blue eyes. Finally, the courtroom deputy flashed Cate a wink. Showtime. Cate gestured to plaintiff's counsel. "Mr. Temin, let's begin. I assume that plaintiff continues his testimony this morning?" "Yes, Your Honor." Nathan Temin was a roly-poly lawyer with the paunch of a much older man and a dark suit that begged to be ironed, worn with equally unruly black hair. Still, Cate knew better than to judge a trial lawyer by his cover. She had dressed down for court many times. Prada didn't win jury verdicts. "Excellent," Cate nodded. "Fire when ready." "Thank you, Your Honor." Temin hustled to the podium with a big pen and a legal pad, then pressed down his suit with a pudgy hand. He greeted the jury and turned to his client, already rising from counsel table. "Mr. Mars, please take the stand." Richard Mars walked to the witness stand, and necks craned from the gallery. Reporters scribbled away, and sketch artists switched to their flesh-tone chalk. The Eastern District of Pennsylvania didn't allow cameras in the courtroom, for which Cate thanked God, and Chief Judge Sherman. "Good morning, Your Honor," Mars said in his soft-spoken way, sitting down after he was sworn in. He was barely 30 years old, and his baby blue eyes showed litigation strain. He smiled tightly, his lips taut as a rubber band, and he ran a finger rake through muddy brown curls that sprouted from under a crocheted yarmulke. A dark suit jacket popped open over his white shirt, and his striped tie hung unevenly. Everybody knew that people looked like their dogs, but Cate thought they looked like their lawyers. "Good morning, Mr. Mars." She smiled at Mars in a professional way, feeling subterranean sympathy for his position. He was claiming that a powerful TV producer had stolen his idea for a series about Philadelphia lawyers and developed it into the cable blockbuster Attorneys at Law. In this battle between David and Goliath, Mars held the slingshot. At the lectern, Temin tugged the black bud of a microphone down to his height. "Now, Mr. Mars, you testified last week that you had 2 meetings with Mr. Simone, leading up to the critical meeting. Please remind the jury of what took place at the first meeting on June 10th. "Objection, Your Honor," said George Hartford, defense counsel. Hartford had gray eyes behind slightly tinted bifocals and was prematurely bald. He had to be about 50 and stood tall and fit in a slim Italian suit with a yellow silk tie. "Asked and answered. Plaintiff's counsel is wasting the jury's time." Temin said, "Your Honor, it's appropriate to review this proof because the weekend intervened." Overruled. Cate shot both lawyers her sternest look. "Let's not let the objections get out of hand today, boys. Play nice." "Thank you, Your Honor." Temin nodded, but a cranky Hartford eased back in his chair next to his client, producer Art Simone. Even seated, Simone looked tall and trim, in his prime at a prosperous 40-something. His reddish hair had been shorn fashionably close to his scalp, and his tortoiseshell glasses paired with a caramel-colored silk tie and tan houndstooth suit. If Mars and Temin were the mutts in this dogfight, Simone and Hartford were purebred Afghans. "Mr. Mars."